Hey, my sweet friends. So excited to have you joining me for episode 17, otherwise known as Creating a Courage Abundance. If it sounds like I'm talking in riddles, if even the mention of fear versus courage gets you thinking about hitting the pause button on this episode, all the more reason to write it out. Stick with me, friends. This episode is going to make you think differently about how you approach fear versus courage. This is the Streamlined Motherhood podcast. I'm Kate Saffel, certified simplicity parenting family life coach and mom of 3. I'm here to guide you back to your intuition, to help you overcome daily overwhelm, and to start feeling confident in the mama and woman you are. Each episode, I'll share tips and encouragement for thriving on your motherhood journey, because this life you're living is way too important to put on autopilot. So last week, I was driving the kids to school and jamming out to the band Joseph. They're a sister band out of Portland, and they are just insanely talented. My 6 and 8-year-old girls and I were just completely belting it out to their latest album, Good Luck Kid. And I looked at the way my kids sing so fearlessly. And then I took a little glimpse at myself in the mirror, and I was just really giving it my all, singing in traffic, kind of looking like a crazy person. And I kind of paused and I looked around me at the other cars that were also on their way to work and school. I saw a lot of heads hunched over phones, saw a lot of tiredness and boredom on the morning commute. Now, if you know me, you know I don't really believe in towing the line or doing what's expected of me. I want to enjoy my life fully. I want my kids to be fully in alignment with who they are, and we're not worried about the status quo. I've always been a bit of a rebel, and if something isn't working in your life, I don't care what others expect of you. You create the life that you really want. And so for me, looking around at those other cars and just seeing how many people look incredibly unhappy, and yet because of their fear, they will never change anything about their lives. They'll keep doing the same thing day after day. No matter what their dreams are, no matter what their goals are, they will stay stuck. And that is the reason for this episode. I don't want that for you, friend. I don't want that even for myself. I don't want it for my kids. And this thought came to me that in my own life, I've always had to adopt a mindset of courage abundance. I've done that so that I could take on new business ventures, to travel the country with my family, and then step into public speaking. There's no magical gene that I was born with that makes me fearless. Most of the time, I feel anything but courageous, but I have created a strong dedication toward taking on new directions. My ability to be courageous, to step out of my comfort zone and allow for risk failure is based on a few key steps I take regularly, and I'm going to teach those to you today. Every day I have women DM, email, and reach out to me in person to share their struggles. Maybe this is you. And at the root of the majority of our problems is fear. Fear of failure, fear of financial loss, fear of instability, fear of rejection, fear of losing out, fear of loneliness. What fear does is create the opposite action of what your heart truly desires. We tell ourselves, I would love to start a new business or write a book or learn how to rock climb. That desire triggers our brain to go into protective mode and effectively shut down the new idea. Why? Well, our brains love running automatic programming, which more or less means maintaining the status quo. To choose a new path requires your brain to implement new neural pathways and to find a way where there simply wasn't one before. It's so much easier to keep doing what you've always done. For most people, we are visited by inspiration, and then we decide not to go for it. Our brains provide a rational reason for why we shouldn't, and this in turn allows the brain to maintain the status quo and continue the automatic programming, all the while giving us this excuse for why we should let our dreams go. Now, what will happen over time if you get into the habit of ignoring that inspiration and not taking action is that eventually the inspiration will stop visiting you. You may wonder why you don't have any big dreams or plans for your life. You might feel a little sad or like something is missing from your days and you cannot put a finger on it. You may also feel stuck and restless but can't identify why. The reason is that you've created a pattern of shutting yourself down. Your brain is in agreement, and therefore the wall you've created in your mind keeps the inspiration from visiting. It doesn't have to be this way. If you're ready to feel unstuck and also want to show your children what it looks like to be authentic, bold, and in alignment with the truest version of yourself, I'm going to show you a way out. We are truly ruled by our fears day in and day out. And if you're tired of living life in the shadows of your dreams, if you're ready to step into the fullest version of yourself and be the courageous, risk-taking woman I know that you can be, then raise a hand, go all in on what I'm going to teach you in this episode, and let's get to it. So today I'm sharing 3 steps you can take to rewrite old patterns in your brain, invite the inspiration back into your life, and create courage abundance as a natural state for you and your family. Let's talk about that beautiful brain you've got. It's the most valuable tool you have and the key to directing your life in the direction that you want to go. As I mentioned before, your brain is on autopilot. By the time you're 35 like me, 95% of your thoughts create automatic actions, and you have about 5% of your conscious brain to create a new path. Now, maybe you're around the same age as me and that scares you. How did we lose so much of our agency over ourselves and our lives? The truth is that motherhood and adulthood tend to require us to automate so many tasks so that we don't lose our minds. We're exhausted, we might be bored, overwhelmed, or feeling a bit stuck. What helps our brain to cope is to know that we do this every day, then tomorrow we do this, and so on, and most days look exactly the same. Think about the drive you take to work or your kids' school or daycare. Have you ever suddenly arrived at your destination and don't even remember how you got there? And yet you were driving, probably drinking your morning coffee, handing a baby wipe to one of your kiddos or a snack, changing songs on the radio, and thinking about what's coming up that day. Can you believe how powerful your brain is that you did all of that without even thinking about it? Now, apply that realization to all of your days. How many tasks do you do without even really thinking about them? You are such an amazing being who has so much power and an incredibly sophisticated brain, and yet we stay totally locked in autopilot. I think this is why I felt so depressed in early motherhood. I was totally on autopilot and also looking outside myself to other people, activities, and places to make me feel happy. My brain reinforced that, Kate, yeah, you're really tired. And you're a new mom, so you really can't do anything because most new moms can barely get a shower in. So just be happy with the status quo. Don't strive for more because it will make things really complicated around here, and we really like stability and more of the same. But you know what? There were many days I would just cry, and I didn't know why. I had this really antsy feeling in my body, like I needed to go somewhere, and I didn't even know where to go. It was the worst feeling. Then, as many of you might know, in 2014, I saw this video about a family who sold everything to travel the US in an Airstream, gathering experiences and memories instead of filling a house with more stuff. And suddenly my brain was like, yep, there's the solution. That's what I've been looking for. Truthfully, it wasn't even really about the travel, but about seeking something greater than a lifetime of choosing the same activities over and over again. For some reason, we confuse stability with a life well lived. And I am all about having needs met and having a sense of security for my family, and also not allowing that to become a straitjacket that defines all of our decisions. Travel was a chance to challenge myself, to feel my own strength and power as a human being who has agency over her life. It took us 4 years to accomplish that goal of traveling full-time as a family, and many, many times my fear about taking that leap almost shut down our plans. Can you even imagine the memories and experiences my family would have missed out on if we hadn't taken the leap to sell our house and leave. I can't imagine myself, and I'm so grateful that I exercised my courage muscle so often that I could break through those fears to accomplish my dream. So, what would this look like in your life? To feel like you have agency over your days and you can create a path for yourself and your family that excites you and brings you more joy. The first step is overcoming your brain's natural tendencies. Now, here's the deal. My clients and I spend 3 full months reworking their automatic thoughts and creating new ones in my Streamlined Motherhood coaching program. I hold them accountable and help them to see where their current thoughts are getting them stuck. You can do the same for yourself, but it will take stubborn persistence. Every day, wake up and ask yourself, what thought do I need to hold about today to be successful? When your brain tries to convince you that life is easier if you just watch another couple episodes on Netflix versus making a to-do list for that book you're dreaming of writing, you remind your brain that you're ready for a better life. Whether you pray, write and say mantras, create a vision board, start making it clear to yourself that you're not going to allow fear to keep you stagnant and stuck. This is your one and only life we're talking about after all. What are you going to do with it? I see so many women regularly self-sabotaging and stopping their own progress in life out of fear. If this is you, ask yourself, why are you self-harming in this way? Unless a vicious bear is going to come violently attack you for taking action, your fear is probably based on old ideas you're holding from long ago that are no longer valid for you. And guess what? You have the freedom to change those beliefs. You get to believe what you want to believe. You choose what is worth being afraid of. Just because your mom or your best friend or your church community or the neighbor next door want you to know how scary something is, doesn't mean it has to be your fear. When we announced we were traveling full-time, I got so many fear-based questions from people. Everything from how we would stay safe in unfamiliar places, which, spoiler alert, is how you stay safe anywhere, to people's weird fear and obsession on how my husband and I would be intimate in a tiny camper that we shared with our 3 kids, to people's fear about how we would, quote, damage our kids by uprooting them. And the thing is, none of that ended up being a real problem. 0. Sometimes we create our own irrational fears as well because our brains are super creative like that. I'm taking my 3 kids solo camping soon without my husband, and I have been so super excited and pumped to just be back in nature, to connect with my kids, and to have a break from the internet and my phone, because, by the way, no cell phone signal. And then one night I had this thought of, oh no, what if some psycho follows us back to our travel trailer and attacks us and all that scary horror movie stuff? Here's the thing. Our society's stance is to create a lot of cultural fear that is designed to keep us safe from things that are most likely not a threat to you and I anyway. Now, I can allow my brain to go on a fear bender, or I can trust that if an idea came to me, it'll probably work out just fine. Oh, and I'm packing some mace too when we go camping, just to be safe. So we'll talk more about fear and its role with your children here in a moment, but I just want to encourage you to sit back and think about in what ways you're currently letting fear dictate your decision making. If you need to, pause this episode and make a list of all the ways you're allowing fear to hold you back. Then ask yourself if you really believe those fears to be a true risk in your life. So the next step is to invite inspiration back into your life with open arms. What inspires you to take action? To feel that bubble of excitement in your stomach and a lightness in your heart? I often hear from clients that they aren't sure what they enjoy or are interested in. They've spent so long arranging their lives solely around their families, which, don't get me wrong, it's not a bad thing, but nevertheless, they've become completely out of touch with their own desires and needs. Does that also ring true for you? Maybe it does, and maybe it doesn't. But if you're missing that inspiration in your life, it's time to find it, and here is why. You need to find a greater motivation for your daily action than fear. When our actions are fear-motivated, we create more of what we experienced in the past because that is what's familiar and comfortable. Maybe you're happy with your past and you want more of the same. Then this episode probably doesn't apply to you. But if you want to feel excited about your life, to take big leaps, to try scary things and triumph over them, to feel the strength of your own decision making and know how wholly capable you are, then get yourself some inspiration. I surround myself daily with inspiration, and I do it in a few different ways. One, I have a vision board in my bedroom that's full of photographs of what I want my life to look like over the next year. My life coach gave me the tip to print out real photos instead of using magazines, and it works because one, well, it's more real, and two, I see myself and my family in many of the photos doing the things we dream of doing. When I feel nervous or scared before making a big move in my business or a hard decision for my family, I spend some time looking at my vision board and feeling the energy of those goals already being accomplished. This shifts me out of fear and into gratitude, and I'm then able to keep making awesome progress. Secondly, I surround myself with inspiring people who are also taking massive action in their lives and not letting fear stop them. I have an amazing group of girlfriends here who are fellow entrepreneurs, and whenever I'm feeling ho-hum or fearful about my life and business, I reach out for encouragement and support because I know that they won't let me indulge in my fears. I also coach weekly with my own life coach, as well as work with a business coach. Neither of them tolerate me living a ho-hum life or giving into fear, and having that accountability is everything, my friends. So for you, consider if your friends are motivating and inspiring you or tearing you down when you get excited about new ideas. Is there a lot of griping and complaining within your friend circle, or are your gals also trying to improve their lives? And if you're currently feeling lonely and need more inspiring relationships, I hear you. You can always reach out to me for support and encouragement because I won't bat an eyelash at anything. I've also gone through seasons of feeling lonely and without support, so I know what that's like too. Motherhood can be such a hard season to make and keep relationships. What I do want to encourage you to keep in mind, though, is that although it's wonderful to have those got your back girlfriends, you are also strong and capable exactly as you are. Often we want to look outside ourselves for validation or our happiness. But the truth is that both of those are an inside job, meaning we produce the feelings of happiness and feeling accepted based on how we think about ourselves and not what others say about us. Also, a quick note on partners. Every relationship is different, and although my husband is very supportive and I love him so very much, I've found that it is better if I don't talk through my business decisions with him. He's invested in my growth in a very personal way, considering that we're raising a family together. And sometimes the decisions I make may seem risky to him and perfectly all right to me. We've agreed that I share my wins with him, but not every decision. And likewise, he doesn't need to share every single thing that happens at his work or with his music career. We support and love one another, but we just don't need to know every single detail, and that works for us. Finally, I invite inspiration into my life daily. For me, this means a daily yoga practice or some kind of movement, reading books that pull me out of my comfort zone, and listening to podcasts by people who are living the life I'm heading toward. Often our tendency can be to confirm our fears by bringing in ideas from others who are at the same level as us. This is a way of making ourselves feel better about not taking action. Sometimes, though, we need to be uncomfortable and experience new ideas so that we can break out of our own self-imposed box. So for you, think of ways that you can surround yourself with inspiring people and ideas daily to produce the momentum you need to break through your fears. Okay, so far we have covered rewiring your brain and inviting inspiration into your life. The final step is to create a life of courage abundance. This is probably the most crucial step, so stick with me. When we have courage abundance, it means that we're willing to boldly step into our fears and try things that scare us. The more we welcome a feeling in, such as courage, the more comfortable we become experiencing it. This in turn creates more of the same. It's like a muscle that needs to be strengthened daily. Have you ever met or witnessed someone who seems absolutely fearless? I often think of people who free climb massive mountains such as El Capitan in Yosemite. Have you ever seen it? It's a sheer vertical rock face, which makes me feel literally sick to my stomach to think of climbing, especially without support. And yet people do it, and it's because they possess an insane amount of courage abundance. Were they born with it? Here's the deal. All young children tend to have plenty of courage abundance. I see it in my kids when they climb trees or leap around playground equipment in ways that makes me nervous. Children aren't afraid of being hurt because they don't quite know yet what it's like to be truly hurt or to even experience death. As adults, we want to protect our children because by the time we become adults, we've probably gotten hurt a lot of times. So we instill a sense of fear in our children by reminding them constantly to be careful and to limit them from trying new things because we're scared they might get hurt. So by the time we become adults, we've been conditioned to be scared out of our gourds about even perfectly normal experiences. As mothers, we are often in charge of safety for everyone, and that desire to do so can get stuck in overdrive. So in situations that may be totally safe, we're freaking out. Kids, get your knee pads, elbow pads, and a helmet to walk down the street. Okay, I'm mostly kidding on that one, but seriously, what is going on today? When I was a kid, my mom didn't even know where I was half the time, and I didn't own a helmet. And I got in a lot of bike wrecks, but that's another story. Times were different then, but for some reason, many of us grew up to become adults who parent with an intense amount of fear. What I want to encourage you to do is own your role in creating a culture of fear and commit to changing your ways. How do you change your ways? By doing things that scare you. You knew I was going to say that, right? Your definition of scary may be different from mine, and that's okay. Make yourself a list of things you want to try, but you've been too scared to. Then start doing one thing a week that terrifies you. Do the mindset work beforehand to make sure you're ready and you won't chicken out. Surround yourself with inspiration and then go for it. The more you do things that scare you, the greater in abundance your courage will grow. Soon, you will find yourself regularly stepping out of your comfort zone and perhaps even enjoying the challenge and the thrill of it. Gather your girlfriends and challenge each other to grow in your courage abundance. Be an inspiration to one another. Show your kids what it looks like to be brave and that it's not only okay to try new things and maybe fail, but that it's a healthy and invaluable part of the human experience. Be the example your children need, not the voice constantly dousing them in fear. I want to leave you with one last thought. You are much braver than you think and stronger than your fears. Your fears do not own you or decide your life for you. You do. If you need some encouragement in this area, send me an email to hello@thestreamlinelife.com or DM me on Instagram. Book a free 30-minute consult with me to talk through the struggles and fears that are holding you back because I can help. Thank you so much for listening to this episode, friend. If you enjoyed it, will you share it with someone who would benefit or leave me a review on iTunes? I appreciate you so much, and I will see you next time.